quick side note, but when I was leaving GovDelivery, my wife, I made a joke around that time, and my wife said, you're about to find out when you don't have 250 people working for you that you're not as funny as you think.
Welcome to the Founders Mentality. This is our first episode of Season 2, and we are going to start this one off with a bang. Anybody that's watching this episode or listening to the podcast, if you're in Minnesota, you know who this company is. You know who these guys are. Multi-time founders in the room. So really excited to have this conversation, but we have two guests, so we're going to have to go around the room. So who wants to do the first introduction here on the Founders Mentality? We'll go with Scott.
All right, I'll go first.
Yep.
Well, my name is Scott Burns, and I'm co-founder of Structural. Structural is really doing something very interesting with a very old concept. So we are an all-in-one people directory that uses very data-rich profiles on people and combines that with intelligent search and real-time insight to reinvent the directory for the modern workforce.
Wow.
And we're bringing together, we have completely rethought what people data is to pull data from all the systems that exist in an organization and organize it around individuals, because those are the ones doing the work. So instead of just a static resume, we combine that type of data with all the business systems data, CRM project and other things, to make just incredibly stunning profiles that really unlock the connections that can happen to close deals, to staff projects, to find mentors, to be mobile in your organization. And it's something I wanted when I was leading the last company.
Yeah.
So I led a company called GovDelivery from the basement to 250 people, which we sold in 2016 and is now merged with Granicus and doing great. And Structural was really my sort of dream of the kind of platform I wanted to use to empower my workforce. Mm-hmm. We came up with a lot of hacks at GovDelivery, but building a company around that was my goal after I left, and we've been able to do it together with Ron.
That's great. All right, Ron.
Yeah,
Give us the quick elevator pitch on you.
All right. My name is Ron Lancaster. I'm CTO at Structural, and I've been working with Scott now for almost 2 years now coming up, and it's just been amazing. Yeah. Before this, I was the CTO at Pearson VUE, and I was at VUE for a little over 2 decades.
Okay.
Joined there right out of college, worked my way up into management, out of management, those sort of things. Okay. And I started talking to Scott about, where I might end up, and looking for a smaller organization, looking for an organization that's really focused around helping people succeed in some way.
Yep.
That's a personal mission of mine. Mm-hmm. And also looking for someone that had done this before, that had been able to build up companies from start into something amazing.
Yeah.
And it's been incredible so far.
Yeah. That's great. So I think that there's one similarity at this table that I'll just call out. At least I believe there's a similarity that it's pretty clear that everyone in this table has a motive to help see other people be successful.
Right.
That's my contribution to the world for that right now is this podcast. I know that, Scott, you do a lot of investing as well, and now you also have a product that's helping people get there, and that was your mission to get there, and now you're there. So when you have multiple guests on the show, it's always interesting because who's going to get the first question, right? Where do we want to go with this one? Because you each unpack totally different things and different tracks that we can go on. But what I really want to ask right now is, so Ron, this is have you ever owned your own business? Have you ever started your own business then?
No.
Okay. So this was your first time jumping into a startup as well?
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Now, when I joined VUE was pretty small. There was 7 developers.
Okay.
They'd been around for a few years, so I got to see that grow.
Yeah.
But nothing, this sort of visceral as Structural has been.
So there's got to be people listening to this that are not currently founders, that are working in a great job and loving their job. I just met with someone the other day that's been with 3M for like 15 years.
Sure.
Right. Loves his job. Great job. Right. How did you make that jump? How did you decide that Scott was the guy that you wanted to jump out of a 20-year career at a place and go chase this new startup with?
Right. Yeah, I was in a position where I could be choosy about that. I could take my time to think about how that would work and how that would look. And I actually had a set of criteria before I was going to make a jump to a new organization. One was just to the leadership at whatever organization I ended up needed to be world class, and I don't mind saying that Scott is a world class leader. I also wanted an organization that was either in St. Paul or Minneapolis. I wanted to be able to be near that. I love now that I have the opportunity to actually live in St. Paul and work in St. Paul. We're in the Osborn 370 building. That's incredible. I get to walk out that door. You can ride light rail. I can bike home. I mean, that's just sort of it's almost unbelievable. Where I was commuting before. And then I also wanted a product with, be able to build an engineering team with new thoughts, new practices, really embrace continuous development, continuous deployment. And there was the bones of that there with the product that we were able to build. And then the people that we work with as an organization, I wanted an organization that was working with professionals. People that had at various stages of a professional career looking to level that up and have a product that could help do that. And when you start looking at that confluence of events, the number of startups gets to be pretty small that are available. And I feel very fortunate.
So what was the company size at Structural when you came on? How many people were working there full time?
It was less than 10 when Ron joined, and we really staffed up. Now we're around 20. So over 20 if you count our incredible fleet of interns. We're safely over. We use a lot of interns.
Gotta love interns.
We got interns in tech. We got interns helping us on just the data side, product side. It's really great. But we've built up the team and actually leaned heavily on building the technology organization. My last company, GovDelivery, we were light on tech early, and we became a technology company later. We were really a sales and marketing company to begin with. And I just believe in enterprise software now, you have to be the real deal. You have to be, especially doing what we're doing, you have to be secure, you have to be trustworthy, you have to have a support organization and client success, which Ron also leads. We combine that client success with product, put it under a leader like Ron, and deliver constant innovation to the client that's really led by both what they tell us and what we believe, which is that work is changing. It's more agile, more flexible, more fluid, more distributed. The half-life of skills is a lot shorter than it's ever been. And we combine our belief with their feedback and what we see them doing, and Ron iterates with his team extremely quickly. I'll also say that he shared a belief and commitment that you can bring in a combination of seasoned people with junior, up-and-coming, young, innovative engineers and build a great world-class team out of it. And that's what we've done. I think our product team is over half the company.
That's great.
And at GovDelivery, it was about 10 to 20% until year 5 or 6.
So you said the word innovation multiple times there. I heard something recently that I absolutely loved from one of my customers, actually, who was talking about innovation and what he believes true innovation is. And I loved this. What he told me is, he said, if you're truly innovating, if you're truly making a product that is innovative, as long as you listen to your customers, you're going to find so many different use cases for what you've created, because a truly innovative product will spark additional ideas and use cases for whatever it has been that's been created. And you touched on that while you were talking, which is why I wanted to kind of call that out. Sounds like you listen to your customers a lot.
We do.
It sounds like there's a lot of new ideas and thoughts and a lot of flexibility and pivoting that go around with that. And at the end of the day, that is what a product-driven, development-driven company is going to be able to do. If you're a sales and marketing-driven organization, you can listen to your customers all you want. You're not going to have the people to pivot, right? You're going to say, no, we just spent the last year making sure this messaging was going to be right. This is what we're sticking with. This is what we decided was right. Moving to an approach where you're willing to listen to what the customers say to allow your product to change. Obviously, you don't make every change that somebody requests, but if you hear it enough times and you hear it from big enough organizations, you start really paying attention and making those changes to your product. So, I mean, what has that been like for you in your role? And
Sure.
also, you're in not just, so you're the CTO, you're working with the tech side, but you're also working with customers on the customer relationship side?
Yeah,
Okay.
very much so.
Okay, fun.
Right.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I think, if you asked the question earlier, people that are sort of in established organizations versus startups, one of the things you get to do in a startup is wear lots of different hats,
Yes.
lots of different responsibilities,
Yep.
and be able to step up to challenges that are happening. I love the opportunity that I get to work with the sales side, be part of the prospect conversations, be part of the ongoing customer conversations that are happening, and then also working directly with our engineering team about making the product come to life in the context of that.
Yeah.
So we get to hear the full spectrum. What are people wanting to have happen out of the product as they're going through that sales process with us?
Yeah.
And also, as they're experiencing the product day to day, where do they want that to go?
Yeah.
Because we deal with people data and being able to bring insights to that people data in a way that no other organization is doing right now, we're able to bring data from a myriad of applications and systems inside of organizations and bring that to one record, one profile of the individual.
Yeah.
It gives us this incredible platform to solve a variety of needs, similar to what you've experienced with your own product, where one organization wants to see us help from an engagement perspective. Another wants us to help them with their staffing needs to be able to operationalize that more effectively.
Yep.
One of our customers had shared with us a stat recently where they had a 50% improvement in their attrition rate because of the product we bring.
There you go.
And
that's a good testimonial to have.
It was incredible, and we heard that at lunch, and we were like, that we just want to capture that and keep that going. So it's listening, but it's also being having this true North Star about why you're trying to deliver something and how you want to deliver that, and then having people come together around that.
Yeah, love that. All right, I'm going to pivot a little bit here, because I know that a lot of people listening to this typically are founders, or what I like to call founder curious, right? They want to start a business.
That's
founder curious.
They haven't yet, but they're trying to get the knowledge, right?
Right.
I love people that try to get as much knowledge as they can before they make a decision. But a lot of people that are starting out businesses, they have the dream of what they want to have happen in that business when they start. Some people want to build the biggest, baddest thing. Some people in my space specifically want to build the next Salesforce. Some people in my space want to be acquired by Salesforce.
Right.
In my case, that's the dream. I want to be acquired by a big sales tech company, right? You, Scott, have been through a merger, GovDelivery. What was that process like? Was that, this was your baby. This was something that you built. This was something that a lot of people knew the name. It had a great reputation in town. You were actually, I was approaching your company to try to turn you guys into a client with my previous agency right when the merger happened. And I was actually talking to a family member, Natalie Fedie, that worked for you there, and she was like, we need exactly the kind of stuff you do. Let's have these conversations. She's great, by the way. And she says great things about you, which will get to my next thing that I want to get to. But what was that going through that merger like for you?
It was a real long journey. So at GovDelivery, I started at 24. Figured, again, my dream at that time was I'd come out of college to McKinsey, gone to a startup. The first startup I was at did very, very well. 0 to $1 million in revenue in 9 months, and I was the 8th employee. Wow. Very successful. In fact, they worked very hard to kind of snatch defeat from the jaws of victory by getting infighting and cultural things. So I also learned a lot about what you can screw up in a fast moving environment. And with GovDelivery, it was really something where we jumped into it. I jumped into it with my co-founder, and it was the dot-com boom. So we thought, build it up quick, sell it quick. That's how the pace at which everything was moving.
Right.
And a lot happened when the dot-com boom collapsed. I had to sort of regroup and think more clearly about what got me up every day. And I'll say that a lot of people want to be a founder because they want more time to fly fish, or they want to be rich, or they want more control of their life, or they want to be the man, they want to be the woman, they want to call the shots. And most of those reasons don't work out very well.
Right.
So you got to have something you're passionate about doing and that you believe has a place in the world, I think.
Yeah.
And most people who are founder curious should not be founders. I'm
Right.
not one of these people who says, take the leap. 3M
Right.
is a great job for you, and if you're happy there, I don't know that you should leave.
Right.
But if you have that kind of artistic desire to see something in the world and really a belief behind it, and you're driven and excited about building the teams and going on the learning journey that's involved in leadership of a growing company, I think it's a great move for people, and it's an incredible journey, lifestyle, and all of those things. But you have to kind of be motivated by things that are sustainable.
Yeah.
And so that kind of leads me. You asked what it's like, and the first thing I'd say is I'm always careful about calling work a family or a company a baby.
Yeah.
I have a family and I have children. These things are very different.
Very different, yes.
And work to me is like a professional sports team, or and so I'm always trying to win and have the right players and build a great team and a culture. But I think you can't fire a family member.
Right.
And it's important to make, for me, to make the distinction as an important part of my mental health.
Yeah.
But
That's great.
it's it's just I'm just not a work as family type of person because I think everyone only needs one family.
Yep.
Credit to my family, they're great.
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, you get to we went, our journey sort of had 3 steps at GovDelivery, maybe 4. One is founding, we're going to do something amazing, we're going to do it quick, we're going to make $1 gazillion. 2 is regrouping, and we're in this for the long haul.
Yeah.
And what do we believe in the business? Where's it going to head? 3 is, it's been a while, and some people need their money back, and we need a shot in the arm, so we actually sold in 2009.
Okay.
We exited to a PE firm, basically. It was a complex PE firm, but we exited them in 2009, me and them, I owned the company with them and a couple other people. And then we started a really high growth path. We went from about 7 million to way over 40. And with them, did some acquisitions and other things. And so by the time I exited personally in 2017, 2016, it really felt like it was ready, you know, like it had been built. We built a company. It's 250 people.
Yeah.
I felt like I demascotted myself. Like the company didn't need my face on it. It didn't need my energy to be really successful. And I was right. It's done incredibly well since. GovDelivery was the main part of that platform company. It's bigger than Granicus, even though the Granicus name is what we chose. And watching it go on and be successful is just very rewarding and fulfilling, and it was extremely smooth for me. I am just not somebody who hangs on to things.
Yeah.
And so literally I walked out the door and I was on to the future, and very excited to celebrate and watch what happened with it. And I will say, I'll just add, I don't look down on the money part of it. It is nice to be rewarded. It's been fun to have the money to give back in the community, to put in the college fund and all that stuff.
Yep.
But the journey itself was a lot more fun than the conclusion.
Yeah, sure.
The conclusion is kind of uneventful. It's just smooth, you know, and you got to figure out what you're going to do next personally and reallocate your time. But the journey was amazing, working with people like Natalie and others.
Yep.
The end was uneventful. You know, your bank account's a little bigger, and you can reflect and celebrate. But I think you have to celebrate the days, not the day.
Right. Yes.
You know.
Man, that's some powerful advice right there. That will definitely make it to one of the micro content clips on LinkedIn for sure. That's powerful. I want to share that with people.
I tried to breathe in the middle so I could break it up.
Right. Yeah. We can turn it into 2 clips. No, that was great. I wanted to also ask you about leadership. So I've had some people on the podcast that I consider great leaders because of what I've heard from people that work for them. Clarence is one of them. You know Clarence Bethia. Mm-hmm. John Pierce from Zipnosis. He had a great quote on the podcast about what he considers the difference between black hole leaders and supernova leaders, and it was just this great quote about, don't be this person that sucks everyone in. Like, there are leaders that do that and they can create powerful companies, but instead, why don't we create galaxies? Why don't we be stars colliding? Why don't we encourage that? Bob Gardner had one of my favorite quotes last season of season 1, said that you need to give your employees a safe place to fail. And I thought that he just said that so well. So leadership style, and Ron, you can back this up when he's done. How has your leadership changed from GovDelivery days to structural days now? And what is your leadership style? How do you approach your employees and encourage them to move forward?
Now I regret having somebody else here because I have to say it and then have it checked.
Yeah.
I'm going to take notes.
Maybe
I'll
ask Ron to talk about structural, but I will say that
you need to stop kicking him under the table.
Yeah.
I mean, he can answer in truth after this. Yeah, no.
This is a quick side note.
Yeah.
When I was leaving GovDelivery, my wife, I made a joke around that time, and my wife said, you're about to find out when you don't have 250 people working for you that you're not as funny as you think. I was like,
wait a minute, are you saying you don't like the joke I just made? Or no, I'm kidding. Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, that is very humbling.
It's very true.
I have to step up my game. I don't sort of, I think the first thing I'd say is adaptive is how I try to be, adapting to the people I work with, the situation. I think that has helped me evolve from a basement founder as a young person to being successful in a larger organization. That PE firm I referred to that owned GovDelivery was actually a publicly held holding company. We call them a PE firm, but
sure.
That made me 1/4 or more of a publicly held company
Okay.
too. Yeah. And I'd go on Wall Street and pitch to investors and analysts and that kind of thing.
Right.
So you really have to adapt to the situation and be present in it.
Yep.
Particularly, I'm not a genius engineer, so I really have to adapt in hiring and unlocking the potential of the people I work with, and in sort of stitching it all together.
Yeah.
And I like different stages of things, and so in that way, I wouldn't want to be the guy who has a bunch of ideas but can't take them to the next level. So that means adapting too.
Yep.
So I think of adaptation as the sort of main element of my leadership style. But I'll say, when I started as a 24-year-old, I really thought ideas mattered a lot. And I thought that it was important to do things the right way. And I had to believe that my ideas and helping people get to the right way of doing things was the way to make things work.
Yeah.
And that really evolved over time with people like Natalie's help, and other coaching and other things. But basically, and millennial generation coming in really helped too. I just basically evolved to a much more focused leadership style where my contribution is in alignment.
Yep.
Always investing in alignment and understanding, even if it's frustrating and it'd be easier to just say do X, do Y, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's align and understand so the idea gets better when I'm removed from it.
Yes.
That's the main thing, is
Yes.
the idea, the work, the culture needs to improve when I leave the room.
Yeah.
And not require my presence, and that helped us transition GovDelivery and grow it too.
Yeah.
And so that's got a lot of different elements. But as a starting founder, I'm a McKinsey person. I was a good GPA. I had a high GMAT score. It's very easy to kind of wrap yourself in arrogance with that background.
Sure.
And I did. And I had to evolve to be successful. That wasn't the recipe for success as an entrepreneur. And that's what I've tried to bring to the table. There's a lot of different elements of that have kicked in, I think, with structural. But yeah, that's kind of how I've evolved over time, adaptive.
It's great. I think that more business owners, more founders need to realize how much what their personal philosophy is and how they conduct themselves becomes the culture at the company. I see that every day. I have a very small team right now. When I say things or do things, it literally gets imprinted in their minds and is put to paper. My marketing manager recently put together our brand statement, put together an entire brand presentation for the company. Did this behind closed doors, didn't even tell me he was working on it. He had only been with us for 2.5 months. And when he told me he was doing this, I was terrified, because this is something that you've been putting together without any questions from me, just listening to what's happening around you, listening to the conversations I have on the phone, listening to the conversations the tech team's having in the office. Who are we really? This is going to be interesting.
Right.
He hit the nail on the head, and I couldn't have been any more happy about what he put out there. And I questioned him on every piece. I said, that's the company I hope I'm creating. And by you extracting that on your own, it validates that that's what we're currently doing. And we need to focus on that every day. The adaptability that you have in your leadership style clearly translates into the way that you guys are adaptable with your customers. You wouldn't have that adaptability in your tech space of your business if the leadership wasn't also just basically leading by example, not even demanding, just leading by example and saying, we are adaptable, we are responsive, we care about what our customers say. That is who we are at our core. It's really motivating for an employee to work in an environment like that. I'm sure you agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you agree, Ron. That's good. Ron has no space to disagree now
Right.
with me.
Exactly. So
What is Ron? What?
Yeah.
What? I'd be curious how Ron would describe his leadership style.
yeah,
Sure.
And,
yeah, I'd like to hear it too.
And because I really have seen how well he made that move from enterprise to an early stage company. And if he wants, he can comment on how full of it I was too.
I would echo the adaptability. I do think that is incredibly important. To be adaptable requires you to have a certain level of introspection.
Yeah.
And it also requires you to divorce yourself from your own ego.
Oh, that's great.
And otherwise, you're not going to adapt. You're going to say, well, I know the right thing to do. I know how to do that. And I'm just going to tell people to go do that.
Yeah.
Those leadership styles can work. I think they are, sometimes you can galvanize around a certain personality that can do that. But I prefer to work for, leaders that have that adaptability, that flexibility.
Yeah.
Scott is also very, liberal with sort of his ideas and then divorcing his ego from that. So
Yeah.
if those ideas aren't adopted, that's okay. And
Yeah.
we've got a culture of that. I think the other thing,
You
though,
give
is
up that easy? I mean, when I have an idea, you better. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. No, sorry.
I'm no Jeff Bezos. At one point, I had an employee who Ron knows who said,
Yeah.
"You need to be more like Steve Jobs."
Yeah.
And I asked him, I said, if he's listening, I said, Brent, do you think I'm the next Steve Jobs? And he's like, no. And then I'm like, well, why am I trying to act like Steve Jobs then? There's only one, I'm not a genius bully. It's not my style. And that's just not going to happen for me. So,
I love that.
yeah, how quick was he with the no?
Yeah.
pretty stunningly quick.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
That's great. All right. Sorry to cut
The
you off.
only other thing I think every company is built up of the people that are all committed to the same mission.
Yeah.
Committed to doing the right things for the set of customers. And you have to really take a step back and say, do you have that company that's built up of the passionate people with the right skills that are in those right jobs
Yep.
and doing those things? And I feel very, fortunate that as Structural, as we've continued to grow, we've got this amazing set of people
Yeah.
that are passionate about what we're doing. Some of them are very early; they're right out of college. Some others have been, with the company for a while or later stage of their careers.
Yeah.
But the talent we've been able to bring into our startup is where it allows us to sort of, punch above our weight.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. A couple quick questions, quick answers. Scott, what's your dream of what happens with Structural?
This is probably counterintuitive, but I'm focused on, I love the breadth of what we're able to do, and I believe in the mission, unleash the potential of people and teams. And I want to do that on as big of a scale as possible by kicking ass this afternoon.
Right. There you go.
That's it.
That's it.
I don't think that far ahead. I'm perfectly capable of having a plan and everything else.
Yeah.
But you talked about maybe I'd be acquired by this, or
Yeah.
I'm doing this to try and create something significant and valuable that serves millions of people,
Yep.
creates amazing jobs, makes an impact on our community. We were able to do that before at GovDelivery. I'd love to do that on an even bigger scale.
Yep.
But it starts with what we do this afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah. Ron, do you share that same just focus on today. Let's get through today. Let's make today the best it can be. Is that kind of your philosophy too?
Yeah, I think I love being sort of in the moment of what we're doing. I think as sort of a product person, I'm also planning out some of the things that are coming up.
You have to.
Thinking a lot of, we just get so many inputs and so many variables. So being able to have that plan, I think the difference between being a larger corporate environment and a startup is the time scale of that planning has gotten much shorter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So rather than putting a product plan together that's the next 3-year roadmap, it just doesn't make sense in a startup.
Yeah, we don't have meetings about meetings in startups. We have meetings and then we get going.
And go make something happen.
Right? Yeah. And then we have another meeting when it's time to get something else going.
That's right. It's low ceremony. It's focused on getting something, amazing accomplished.
Yeah.
And also I think, you have to be really passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah.
To be able to wake up to these challenges, and we're building something really special.
Yeah.
And that keeps us motivated to keep doing that great thing that afternoon.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I talked to a lot of founders in Minnesota. I was part of the beta group, so I get to meet a lot of the early startups that come through the beta program, and they just happen to be down the hall now. They moved into this building as well. Techstars is in this building. Generator is over in the Uptown WeWork, right? So I see a lot of these startups just in the space I'm in, but also from the podcast and everything. And I can say confidently that the ones that I've seen be the most successful and the ones that I feel will be the most successful are the ones that truly have a passion for what they are doing. And it kind of goes back to what Scott was saying about, is the dream to sell this thing for billions and billions and billions of dollars? Like, if that is really truly your only dream with what you are building, it's probably not going to make it.
Right.
Right? If that's as big as the dream gets, it's going to be a daunting task to get to that point. And you're not going to be able to celebrate the really incredible things that happen on the way there. Because it takes a long time for revenue to pick up to the point where your business could ever be acquired for billions and billions and billions of dollars. So you better enjoy those days.
Better enjoy the days.
Yeah.
That's right.
And you also, I've seen a lot of people have a lot more success when they have, a direct correlation to the industry that they're currently working in, right? That they're creating a business in. Not all the time, but I would say that especially for the younger startups that are coming out, I see a lot more success when they have worked in that field for a little while, found some of the gaps in the market, and then decided to move forward based on information. Scott, I know you do some investing as well, so we don't need to go into specific details about the businesses that you've invested in, but what has been the best? That's my personal dream, is to get to the point, that's why I want this to be acquired. I want to have enough money to give back by investing, advising, and then creating more and more and more, right? Very similar to the trajectory you're on right now.
Yeah.
What has the best part of investing been?
That it helped me learn that I don't like it as much as building companies. So it was my dream too, and I will say that doing it, I love being able to support people, and I've referred to it for me as sort of a tithing back.
Yeah.
Like it's giving back to the market, because you can't pay back. You can pay back your investors a return, but most of the people who invest in our types of companies already have a lot of money. They're investing money they don't necessarily need.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard to kind of give them something that is equal in its contribution to their lives as what their investment was into my life and my opportunity at GovDelivery.
Yeah.
And so to repay them, it just works very well to pay it forward. I've enjoyed supporting people that way.
Yeah.
I get much less joy out of it than I get out of the building of my own team and the focus of that and the opportunities at Structural. And so in fact, I thought I might be an investor someday and had some opportunities to do that. And the angel investing I did taught me that I like to do it as a side hustle or side hobby.
Sure.
But that what I love doing is building companies. And that's why I made the decision to really dive back in that way. It's always harder than you think it's going to be. And so there's been, I would say, if you don't have a day a week of some regret, you're probably not trying hard enough. So it's a lot harder work than being an investor, being a founder, working in this stage of a business. But that's kind of that's been my take on it. I will also say I've learned that liquidity is very hard to come by.
Yeah.
And so I put a lot of money in. I haven't gotten a lot of money out. I think I will over time. But I think it's interesting from an investment standpoint how that works, because it's given me perspective as a founder of how fleeting opportunities for taking money out are.
Yeah.
It's so unusual. We paid our employees out on options 2 times at GovDelivery. Every employee got a check.
Right.
2 times.
2 times, yeah.
And I'm so much more proud of that now that I've watched how the investments I've made struggle to pay back anybody.
Right.
I know that many of you will, if you're listening.
Yeah.
Please. But it's actually helped me appreciate more what we did to not just create a great business, but to make it work financially for the people who contributed.
So for people starting up a business right now that are listening to the podcast, fundraising is like one of the number one things I get asked about all the time. How do you raise money? How do you raise money? How do you raise money? I don't like to talk about that too much because there's so many different ways to do that. But what I like to talk about more is when you do raise money, do these things. Make your investors happy. What are the things that, and again, don't call out companies, and you don't even have to say specific instances, but as an investor, what are the things that do make you happy to get reported back to on? Or what are the things that make you more likely to invest in a business? Or what are the things that make you more likely to basically just want your money back and get out? Right? What are those things that would-be founders, startup curious people looking for funding, looking for investors should really be keeping top of mind in your opinion?
Well, I think the first thing is if you take money, you now have, and you referred to me as a business owner before, which I've never been that.
Okay.
I've never owned 51% of a company.
Okay.
I had co-founders. I am a true collaborative founder in the sense of the funding partners, the co-founders, the employees, everything else. And so it's important to separate. Like, I don't own a restaurant.
Yeah.
I am a part of a team that invests in a company to build them.
Yeah.
And so it's important to separate. I think that once you take a nickel of someone else's money, you have a sacred bond, an obligation to them that one of your main goals, maybe not your main goal, needs to be to organize the business so that it can repay them a return. And you make the pitch to them, you can't abandon that once you start running the company.
Right.
So the worst thing you can do is turn a business that's raised money into a lifestyle business, unless you truly have to do it.
Right.
And especially to do it sneakily where you don't acknowledge, hey, we said we were going to try to get a return. That's not going to work. And we're going to try to survive. And thanks for your support. It's time to write this investment off.
Right.
So I think that we have a lot of founders in Minnesota who do that kind of big pitch. Then they realize how hard it is to try and scale something.
Yep.
They buckle down and keep their salary going for a long time. And that is very uncool.
Yep.
Should never happen if you're listening. I won't name names. And so that's happened a couple times, and it pisses me off. On the other end, just transparency and confidence from the individual. I've raised money from people who were very dissatisfied from our results in the early stages of GovDelivery, but we're so thrilled to have how regularly we communicated and how transparent we were that they came back to the table.
Yeah.
And I'll use an example of structural. We just did a shareholder report, and we had some good news to report and some things we're really excited about, and we also had some bad news. We're very transparent about the bad news.
Yeah.
And if I'm spinning the people who've contributed already all the time, that's really tough. I'll say that the other worst practice, so regular communication is great. Like Kitizen's been through a lot of ups and downs, great investment, great company, and I've loved their communication along the way and the transparency of it. And there's other good examples too, by the way. I'll share another negative example is the founder who only reaches out when they need money.
Yeah.
And thinks that grows on trees in the sense that you can call and get money in a week or a day.
Right.
I usually am pretty tapped out when I invest because I don't make big investments in startups.
Right.
So I'll make one investment, try to help, whatever, and it's really frustrating when they call on Friday and need money on Thursday. It's like,
and you had no
dude,
idea the ship was sinking.
You're basically I don't like the call where they're like, could you help me captain the Titanic because we just hit an iceberg.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it's unfortunate that you even have to say that. However, I hear enough stories that it's a very valid thing to say. And so anyone listening going, well, I would never do that. I would never not tell my investors when I'm in that bad of a position. Wait till you start getting in that position, because I think it's a pretty natural tendency. Look, the raising money phase is so exciting. It's so fast. It's so taxing on every part of your body. Just physically and mentally, you are exhausted when you're raising money. And there's all this excitement. You gotta, as the founder, you gotta keep excited, because you're selling the dream, you're selling the team, you're selling the passion you have for it. There's no time to be discouraged. When the reality of the business starts setting in, you do have to share those things. And what you will find when you start sharing those things, even the things you don't want to share, is that most investors know that that's how it's going to go. They're not expecting that when you reach out, it's going to be sunshine and roses every time. They're expecting that you're going to have challenges. And they many times invested because they also want to help advise you. They want to protect their money. I don't have a single investor that's given me money that doesn't talk to me, right? Every single investor in my organization wants to have conversations, wants to know what's going on, wants to know how they can help, wants to know what my challenges are, wants to connect with me with other people that can help me solve the challenges that are going on right now. If you don't tell them those things, you're not going to get those answers. And why did you bring them on in the first place? Investors should be, in my opinion, your first advisor group. Whether you make it official or not, they should be your first advisor group. You shouldn't just bring anyone on for money. You should bring them on for the experience that they bring to the table to help you make this successful, because you might think you're the only one that really cares about making this business successful, but the people that have put their own money on the line to make this successful, they care just as much, because they want it back. Yeah. So, have you been a part of any of these conversations? I mean, do you get in front of the investment group in your role? Is that yet another hat that you get to wear there as well, Ron?
Yeah, I think one of the things that Scott's been able to do is, give me that exposure.
Yeah.
Share the communications that he's preparing, ask for my input on those.
Yeah.
Also, the board level exposure, to be
Yeah.
able to be part of those conversations has been phenomenal.
So good. Yeah, it's so good to have that. That is one of my favorite things about startups, is that when you come out of working for a startup, the experience that you get from that, you're not going to get that anywhere else.
Right.
And if you're part of a startup that turns into something pretty amazing, that is going to completely change the direction of your career moving forward.
Right.
And it's really exciting to see what that does for some people. It looks like you were going to say something.
Oh, I would say, I think when you're trying to build a technology company and you're not a technologist,
Yeah.
You need to have
You need a Ron.
Ron is an incredible asset in the fundraising.
Yeah.
We raised a lot of money this time. This business needed the money for the vision that we have and the ambitions we have.
Yep.
Well over $5 million in the seed stage.
Yep.
And nobody wants to invest that money in one person, one single point of failure.
Right.
And they want to invest it with technology vision and chops behind it.
Yep.
And so Ron was a critical part of the conversations, particularly with our largest investor,
Yeah.
Getting them over the hump. And in fact, I've told our investors this, that we're really founding the company with Ron on board to deliver against the bigger vision. We had sort of a beta version that went on for a while, gave us some experience in the market, but nearly every line of code's been rewritten since Ron joined, and that was our commitment to do that.
Right.
And I think bringing a 1-2 punch, I think a lot of founders spend too much time pitching and actually hiding their team from it.
Yeah.
And you want investors who are investing in the team. In fact, to get the bigger checks, you have to show them that you can recruit people of this caliber,
Yeah.
of Ron's caliber, and that's what they're going to have. They're going to be investing in that and what you bring to the table, not just what you bring to the table.
Yeah.
GovDelivery, by the way, I completely hoarded those relationships, and
Yeah.
I've learned my lesson that that's not the right way to do it.
Don't do that. Yeah, I love that. I love that. All right, so we're way over time, but it's fine. It's the first episode of season 2, so I'm going to allow for this to happen. I did want to ask you about one more thing, because you have a pretty cool thing going on in St. Paul right now with the building, right? I love the startup thing that's happening in Minnesota right now, where we have the Minneapolis startups, we have the St. Paul startups, right?
Yeah.
We have friendly banter going on between the startups.
Some of those startups moving from Minneapolis to St. Paul.
Moving from Minneapolis
Yep.
to St. Paul, because there's this big, beautiful building. I don't know if you've heard about it,
That's right.
Osborn over there. But so they moved from Minneapolis, they moved to St. Paul. But talk about this building. I mean, I think this building is this is the embodiment of what you were talking about giving back, about getting to a place where you can support other people to be successful. I mean, that's what this entire building is about. That's the mission statement of this building, at least what I understand. Talk about that a little bit, because I know this is a big thing for you right now.
Yeah, it was particularly a big thing leaving GovDelivery, and it's a ridiculously long story, but the building, Osborn 370, basically came out of the process I use for everything.
Yeah.
Getting involved, observing, and then seeing if there's a workable intervention.
Right.
That's kind of what that's what a startup is. That's
Yeah.
what entrepreneurialism is.
Yeah.
I help run ski races for my kids, and I have the same thing. Like, why do we need to do this the same way we've always done it? Let's try a new way. We can solve problems. We don't have to just look around and complain.
Yeah.
And so St. Paul in particular, where I'm not from, neither is Ron, but we both love it.
Yeah.
It's an amazing place with incredible assets. And about 25% of the people act like they're stuck in some kind of prison over there.
Sure.
And they complain about it. They complain about everything from the roads to the buildings to it's not Minneapolis to it's not Silicon Valley to it's not Hudson, Wisconsin. I mean, it's got something wrong for everybody in that 25% complainer class.
Right.
And so what I have done is really seek relationships with people who believe that you can make cities amazing one step at a time.
Yeah.
And I love Minneapolis too. I have nothing against Minneapolis. In fact, in any global set of considerations, St. Paul and Minneapolis are in the same neighborhood.
Yes, exactly.
And so I think it's important to recognize that the ecosystem is super intertwined.
Yeah.
But basically the observation when we were looking for space with GovDelivery and when we saw When I Work move from St. Paul to Minneapolis and some other things happen, we realized there's tons of open space in St. Paul, but the companies that I thought should stay and grow there weren't finding that space. And GovDelivery had the same problem. We had to practically become a real estate developer to find growing space.
Yeah.
So started circulating that. I have incredible mentors. I was part of a Harvard cross-sector leadership program that led to a Harvard business case being done on GovDelivery and some great mentorship there that helped me think these things through. But basically when I left GovDelivery, I said, I think there is an intervention around space.
Yeah.
I looked at a small space, and then we got very lucky. I actually had an offer on a very small space that I would have owned 100% of. And we started circulating this paradox of St. Paul real estate to people. And the mayor, the former mayor and the new mayor got on board with this concept. But more importantly, Doug Baker at Ecolab, the CEO of Ecolab, came to the people who were thinking through this problem and said, we are exiting our old building and we'd love to create a legacy of jobs there and not just see it turn into a hotel or apartments. And suddenly this 30,000 square foot idea I had to kind of have a demonstration space
added a couple floors.
Became me as a very small partner in it, but a few other real estate developer partners coming in. And with Doug's support and Ecolab's support, we were able to convert the building. It's over 70% full. And it's not a co-working space. It is a place where companies lease space and grow.
Yeah.
So we have Techstars in there. Generator has an office in there. APM's Innovation Lab, American Public Media, Minnesota Public Radio's Innovation Lab's there. There's a thing called Lunar Startups, but there's also Blackbaud Software, which bought Rehearse Software, has a big office there regionally. We have banks. We have anybody who defines themselves as an innovator and wants to be in the building is welcome in the building. And that's created a diverse, extraordinary community. If you walk over there, the thing I'm most proud of that really was driven by others, it wasn't the original plan, is that it is the most diverse commercial office building in the Midwest, I would argue.
100%. I wouldn't argue that against you. It is.
If that is listed on my tombstone and I have nothing else to show for my life but my children, I would be very happy.
I'll be out in your building in just a couple weeks for Clarence from Upsea having his open house there. It's going to be pretty awesome, right? Because he's in that space right now, right? Yeah. So that's going to be great. It's incredible, right? And I think honestly, there's been so much excitement and buzz around the startup scene in St. Paul, and a lot of it's been driven by probably the coolest mayor I've ever seen in my life. Honestly, the mayor of St. Paul is just...
Sure.
He's just cool. Everybody likes him, right? I'm voting for him for president someday.
I like it.
But
He's got work left to do as mayor. We need all his full attention.
Yeah.
But it is special to have somebody who can speak about St. Paul
So great.
with such belief and conviction, and he is a true innovator.
Yeah.
If you look at eliminating fines in libraries, he's launched a housing program in conjunction with the schools. You can look at a city and look at the glass half empty and say, we just need more police to keep this glass from draining anymore.
Right.
But the fact is, globally, we have real problems nationally, housing, income inequality, all these things. And we have a mayor who is trying to demonstrate that you can innovate and succeed at the city level, even in spite of these other challenges. And that is an incredible gift for our city.
Yeah,
It
and
absolutely
his
is.
presence is felt.
Yeah.
You can really see him visibly.
Yeah. Well, he literally is there. I mean, he goes
Right.
to so many of the events.
All these
If I
events.
go to the St. Paul side for any events, typically speaking, he is
Yep.
showing up.
Definitely, he's there. He's visible. He's approachable.
Yeah.
Very much so.
The visibility is really important. I guess that would be the last learning of this episode. It doesn't matter what your role is, right? Be visible and be approachable, because I'm telling you, it does everything for organizations when the people at the top look approachable by the customers, right?
Yeah.
Because people don't fall in love with companies; they fall in love with the people at the companies. And so, if you can make yourself more approachable, you're going to find a lot more success from that, and that's where the mayor has had a lot of success as well. You guys, thank you so much for helping me kick off this second season. Scott, I've wanted to have you on here for a long time. So I think I've done something right in my life that you finally agreed to come on here. I must have built this up to be something that at least looks impressive. So there we go. But regardless, this has been great. And everybody, we will have another episode in just 2 weeks, like we always do. And thanks for joining us today. Make sure to share it with your friends, family, post it on LinkedIn. Please, please, please. Let's spread the value. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.